Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Ingram Micro Cloud AWS Public Sector Soundbite. Today, we have John Fry, Partner Enablement Program Manager, with us to shed some light on the AWS Competency Program and how important it is to your business to differentiate yourself. Let's get started, John. Take it away.
Thanks, Jody. Hello, everyone. So as Jody mentioned, my name is John Fry. I work on partner enablement programs here at Ingram Micro Cloud. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the AWS Government Competency. So with that, let's jump right in. So first, why are competencies important? Basically, AWS's competency program is a way to really differentiate their most successful, partners, if you will. So I'll get into, briefly some of the different types of competencies and so forth. But if you want to truly differentiate yourself in the public sector space with AWS, the government competency is absolutely the way to do that. So first, I'll get into some of the requirements and what it takes to achieve a competency with AWS. But before I jump into that specifically, I just wanted to highlight the fact that that competency is not the only program, partner program that AWS has. So they have the Navigate program. There's a service validation. Our service delivery designation program, and then, as we're talking today, competencies. When we get into the requirements and sort of the level of engagement that you're going to have in order to demonstrate a competency, you may realize that that's something that you're not going to be able to do, in the next, call it 3, 6, 9 months, what have you. So one thing that I'll call out as it relates to these other programs is there is a public sector Navigate program that, regardless of your current level of maturity with AWS, every partner can participate in the Navigate program. It's delivered through the AWS Skill Builder, and on the slide here you can see there just a couple of things that are covered in that public sector Navigate program. Just some of the foundational elements of doing business with AWS, as well as doing public sector business with AWS, are covered in the Navigate program. So we'll jump into competency here in a second, but I just wanted to call this out that this is something that I would encourage any partner that's doing any public sector work with AWS that you investigate this public sector Navigate Foundations program. So competencies, what is the competency program in general? And I'll just build this out. First of all, in order to pursue an AWS competency, you have to be at least advanced or higher tier in the AWS Partner Program. So that's a pretty critical designation. So you need to either be advanced or premier tier in the services path with AWS. So beyond that, once you get to advanced tier, and today's discussion doesn't cover the requirements to reach advanced tier status, but we're certainly able to walk you through those requirements. But once you get to advanced tier status, above and beyond that, competencies may have additional certification requirements. And there are various areas of focus, if you will, for competencies that you may pursue. In the case of the government competency, there actually are not additional certification requirements. But as you can see on this slide, there are competencies with AWS by certain types of workloads, as you see down in the lower right, things like Oracle, SAP, etc. There are specific competencies for use cases, things like machine learning, DevOps, Internet of Things, etc. And then on the left side, industry-specific competencies. And so today we're going to talk about the government competency and some of those requirements. But I'll also call out, for those of you who may be working specifically in public safety and disaster response. There is actually a relatively new competency that's specific to those segments within the public sector space. So you might be interested in pursuing the public safety and disaster response competency if that one is more applicable to your public sector, the types of public sector customers that you work with today. So AWS Government Competency requirements. So I can't stress enough the sort of the foundation for any competency with AWS, again, is you must be at least advanced tier. So I didn't cover that specifically on this slide, but for those of you that are at least advanced tier, the rest of these requirements are sort of the foundations for getting through the government competency. First, you must be part of the public sector partner program with AWS. Regardless of whether you pursue a government competency or not, if you're doing public sector work with AWS, you want to be part of that public sector partner program. That's essentially your authorization to work with public sector agencies and so forth, to collaborate and essentially sell AWS and deliver AWS solutions. So next, in order to achieve the competency, you're going to have to show that or demonstrate that that you've done at least 4 unique AWS government projects over the previous 18 months. So a competency with AWS is not something that you can achieve because you've done other types of work with specific agencies and so forth. AWS wants you to demonstrate that you have done specific AWS projects in the government or public sector space in order to achieve the competency. One thing the sub-bullet here calls out is that because of the sort of the regulations, nuances, if you will, of doing business in the public sector, AWS, for this specific competency, AWS does not require you to publish these as public-facing references, if you will. So you're going to have to demonstrate this specific to AWS, but you're not going to have to reference the specific names publicly on your website or those sorts of things. In some cases, with other competencies with AWS, they require some of your references to be public-facing, but not the case with the government competency. I mentioned that these projects must have been completed within the previous 18 months, and they have to be production workloads, if you will, in AWS with these agencies. So pilots and proofs of concept and things like that are not acceptable for to meet this requirement. So the next the next requirement, if you will, is that you must have a microsite. So there must be part of your website must describe the specific AWS solutions and use cases and things that you've delivered to government agencies, if you will. So you must have a microsite that demonstrates that talks about what you've done with in the public sector space, specifically for AWS. The third or fourth key requirement here is that you must have other public-facing materials, and so there's a couple of things called out here: blog posts, press releases, articles, videos, etc., that demonstrate your expertise in the government, doing work with the government, and those links must be provided. At least three of those examples must have been published within the previous 12 months. So hopefully just this gives you a highlight for the level of detail and the types of requirements that AWS is looking for in order to achieve a government competency. It's again not something for partners who have done, government work in the past, but it's, they're just sort of dabbling, or maybe you're very specifically engaged with government customers, but you really haven't done a whole lot of AWS work there yet. You're going to have to be able to demonstrate that you've successfully deployed government projects in AWS. Beyond the requirements that I've mentioned so far, the last bullet here just highlights that for all AWS competencies, there are other technical requirements that AWS is going to require through their validation process, and they do publish. There is an official validation checklist that has all the details that you guys would need to review in order to go through that validation process. So with that, I think that's a high-level overview on AWS government competency. At Ingram Cloud, we would love to have you interact with our public sector team and continue to help progress you through your journey with AWS in the public sector space. And with that, Jody, I think we can call it for today's lesson.
Thank you all for attending, and we'll see you at our next soundbite, webinar, or partner briefing. Thank you all.